Great. So welcome to our third session of the Alchemy of Self Masterclass. It's been a journey, and thank you so much for staying till the end, because a lot of people start in the beginning with an excitement and then life gets in the way. So the strongest survive. So thank you to those who are here live. I really appreciate it. And there's more magic happens when you're alive. And at the same time, saying also hello to a lot of people who are watching the recording. And yeah, and I'm sure you'll get as much out of it as well. So also thank you for all your messages and your emails. And I've been so touched, and please keep them coming. It just means so much to me to receive the feedback, and how a few of you mentioned that you asking the questions to the universe and they got answered in the masterclass. Life works in miraculous ways. And yeah, and a lot of you said that was really deep. It really touched you and got you connected to the deepest parts of yourself. So I'm really happy to hear that. And also today we are going one level deeper, or maybe 5 levels deeper, or who knows how many levels. So we're definitely not gonna dance around the surface. We're just gonna go to the core of it all, because why would we not, right? We're here for the deep stuff, to learn about ourselves and about the existence and about life, why we're here, what we're doing, and how can we make the most out of it? How can we make that existence more beautiful, more fulfilling, and filled with love? Because that's why we're doing all this work. We're not doing shadow work for the sake of doing shadow work. We're not doing self-development for the sake of entertaining ourselves with self-development. Although sometimes the process can be entertaining, but that's not the goal. We're actually just peeling off the layers and illuminating those shadows so that we can get closer to ourselves. And when we get closer to ourselves, we get closer to life, to other people, to universe, to purpose, to the whole existence. And we then reach that point of peace. And whenever I teach something, my goal is always to embody and even go deeper with these concepts. So this week has been really deep for me as well. Because I've been teaching it, so I'm immersed in that energy. I've been deepening that connection to myself and all parts even more. And this morning, I was going through a really intense, deep process while someone was holding space for me, and went to some more core wounds, which were not maybe the core wounds, but like other things that happened that wounded me. And I cleared those. In the beginning, it was a bit that same moment. It was like, it's uncomfortable. Like, do I need to do this? How much more work do I need to do? But it does get easier. So it's not that you revisit the same thing and it never gets better. It never gets better if you actually revisit it and you abandon yourself and you kind of re-traumatize yourself. So that's not helpful. But if you revisit it and you know what's going on, you don't lose the plot. You say like, okay, this is what's happening. And you really hold on to it, to this kind of idea that I'm here just to hold space for myself. I'm here to heal it, and I'm trusting the process. Then I swear to you, it does get better. And this morning I cleared some more stuff, just like these subtle things. I'm just in the basement clearing all the cupboards. And I felt even more free, and certain like tendencies in my life were just gone. I just felt so free today, and even more surrendered. So just kind of a confirmation that this work is working and it does get better. And talking about surrender, this is today's lesson and today's theme: to surrender to life, to surrender to what is, to surrender to existence, universe, God, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it. And this is a very weird, interesting, and paradoxical topic. And I'm pretty sure it's not the first time you hear about someone talk about surrender. And today I'm going to share with you 5 steps how to surrender. I'm obviously joking, because there can't be any steps to surrender, because if you're taking the steps to surrender, by default, you're not surrendering, you are trying. So if you're trying to surrender, you can't surrender. And it's such a paradox, and it's such a like mindfuck, excuse my language, that sometimes, and I've kind of delved into this topic for the last 4 years and trying to surrender. Okay, so yeah, I get it. I shouldn't try, but like, but how do I do it? How do I surrender? Surrender to what? And I really, really went deep into this topic. And in one plant medicine journey, I went into this 2-dimensional space. If you remember in the first session, I talked about 1-dimensional space, where it's complete darkness, loneliness, nothing exists. So in mathematics, like 1 dimension is a dot, right? Just like a period, a dot where there's no existence, there's no duality, like no shadows, like no light or darkness. It's just either darkness or light. So I talked about that dimension. And also I have visited a few times through also plant medicine, also through meditation, through ecstatic dance, through lovemaking, another side of 1-dimensional space where it is just oneness and it's just light and your heart just, is blasted open and it's that love and light and nothing else exists. So it's like the flip side. It's kind of the different, but it's still like 1 dimension where just oneness and you feel one with it all. It doesn't last long, but you can enter that space. So just a reminder. And now I'll tell a story about 2-dimensional space where literally there's only 2 things. And it's that kind of ultimate duality. And in that journey, it was just green and red. And what it represented to me, there's these 2 concepts, 2 ideas. Monica is saying, somehow this has been the theme this week, every single day, all podcast book chapters. You see, the universe is talking to you, Monica. Content has been coming across about surrender. Love this, such divine timing. Yeah, it always is. And you are creating your reality. It's not a coincidence that you are here and now. So coming back to that plant medicine journey. So there's always that guidance, just surrender to the medicine, just surrender, just let go. And, come with that intention. And if you've done plant medicine, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't done it, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing kind of applies in life, in all life situations. But that was kind of, okay, just surrender, just let go. And I was trying to surrender. And again, not knowing how to surrender, because when you try, by default, you're not surrendering. And then I realized there's part of me that was resisting. And when I inquired, okay, what part of me is resisting this? And it was like, what if it's shit? What if I surrender and it's really, really shit experience? What if I surrender to this darkness? And what if I let go and like release all the control? And what if it's just, I fall into some abyss? And what if there's no benevolent God? What if there's no higher power that is good? What if there's no light? What if it's just all random? What if it's just nothingness? What am I even surrendering to? So that thought kicked in. And in the past, when I used to have this thought, like 10 years ago, when I was starting on the spiritual journey, I would try to talk myself out of it. Like, no, but I'm choosing to believe it, but there is good forces, but it is that. So still trying to argue with myself and create that inner conflict because I didn't know better. And of course, it is better to think that there are better forces and higher things and light rather than, just like darkness and nothingness. So I was avoiding that thought. And I realized at some point that was probably my deepest, darkest fear. It's not that I'm bad, something's wrong with me, but just like the existence is just cold, dark space. And in that journey, there was a time to face that. But I resisted it because who wants to step into the deepest, darkest fear? Well, I do. That's all I do in my life. But even that was kind of like, I don't want to go there. So then I flipped to the other side, which is kind of the other pole, which is, no, it's all about my intention. I know all about manifestation. I'm creating my reality. I can create this journey. I can go and explore whatever I want. I know how manifestation works. I've dedicated a decade to understanding and studying the law of attraction and manifestation, how it works. And I've created my life using these principles. So I can't just let it go and surrender to some random shit. What if it's good? What if it's not good? And I was just like holding on to like, no, I'm going to manifest my intention. What's my intention? Come back to my intention, like holding on to that. And that kind of holding on to that created so much pain that then, in plant medicine manifests as emotional, like physical sensation and pain. So that wasn't really working. And what actually it showed me, which plant medicine always emphasizes, just whatever you're doing in your life always is just like in your face and in such a like, close proximity. And you see like, oh, okay, this is my pattern. I'm sometimes trying to hold on to the vision. But it's so hard to let go when like you invested so much of your time and energy and the things have worked. I have created an amazing life and lifestyle and my business and, finances and my body and health and everything using these principles. So I was like, how? But then it's not working right now. Okay, so like surrender and trying to surrender. But what if it's shit? And then just like going from one to another just felt like an absolute hell. Just so much pain, so much resistance, and like resistance emphasized times a million. It was like, I can't even hold that in my body. So just like, fuck it, just let it all go, and just like fell off the abyss. And just, I have to face that deepest fear, that there is no higher force, there's no benevolent God, there's no light, there's no goodness. And instead of arguing with it or pushing it away and trying to like program myself with all the positive and light thoughts, like, okay, let's explore this. What if it is true? And then I went straight into it and faced that reality where that's the case, where there is just darkness, there's nothing else. And when you face it, it's kind of a relief. Okay, that's not the end. And then what? And then if that's the case, I've got myself. And that's how I started really holding space for myself. Okay, what do I need right now? Okay, I just need to change the position. I lay down, I made myself a little bit more comfortable. What do you need now? I need to breathe deeply. I started breathing and the body sensation changed. I tapped into that love frequency and the whole experience shifted. And I was shown through like, there's more that happened, which is impossible to explain in human language, what happens in these journeys, but the same principles applies to all existence, to all our lives. And then I realized that I am the one who's creating that experience. If I'm resisting, that manifests as pain, as suffering. If I'm really addressing what's there, being present in this moment, addressing my needs, tuning into my heart, into my inner child, inner infant, like, what do you need? Honey, like, what do you need right now? Just breathe. Okay, let's breathe. And that's what changes the experience. And that is the surrender. Surrender is not surrendering to some darkness, to some unknown thing that may be shit. It's like surrendering to what is, which means saying yes to life at any given moment. Because life is already happening. Like this moment is already happening. It always is. There hasn't been a moment where there's no moment for your experience, for your consciousness. And there's always two choices at any given moment, to say yes or to say no. To say yes means to surrender. It doesn't mean like I'm going to surrender to this darkness for the rest of eternity. It means just like, I'm surrendering to like what is now. And really not distracting myself, not disconnecting from myself by getting into the mind narrative, like what's going on? Is it going to be forever? Because if you're questioning if it's going to be forever, you're not being present. You're saying no, you are resisting. And when you're resisting, that's what creates the suffering. And as the saying goes, it's not the pain that creates the suffering, it's a resistance to pain. So if I actually really surrender even to the painful experiences, and really tune into the body, not into the mind. Not like when I say surrender to painful experiences, I'm not saying put fuel into the story of why you're such a victim, why it's so dark, why it's so bad. It's more just really dropping into the body and addressing what's there, what's happening, what's alive in me. What do you need right now? And then in that journey, it turned out that I am the universe. I am one with it all. Doesn't mean that my limited human self is all of it, but I am part of it. And in that moment when I surrendered and I held space for myself, I entered the space of this unconditional love and knowing all of it, understanding like all of it, how I'm creating all this reality, but not just from my limited conscious human mind, but there's way, way more. And in that moment, when you understand everything, you're like, oh my God, that's how everything is. How miraculous, how magical. And you just completely mind is blown. But we're not supposed to remember. And then it's like when your mind tries to grasp it or put it into words and like, wait, what was it? It's just like when you wake up from a dream and you remember all the dream and then you try to remember it and it kind of starts fading away. Like, wait, what was it? Who was that? Where was I? Because we're not supposed to remember. Like the more you try, the like sooner it fades away. It's almost like catching a feather with a fan. The more you try, the more like it moves from you. But it doesn't matter. My mind doesn't need to grasp it. All I need to do is just drop into my body and trust and surrender to the fact that it's going to be revealed at any given moment. Life is always happening. We don't need to manufacture it. We don't need to make life happen this morning. Like sun rises every morning, no matter if you're sad, happy, and it probably will till the rest of your life. So we just need to say either yes or no. And it's not that surrender is better than resisting. I'm not saying like you should surrender. There's always these two options. None of it is right or wrong. They just have very different consequences and a very different feeling. Because when you resist to what is, essentially it's the same as abandoning yourself. You're like resisting a part of you. Whereas where you just fully open your heart and just say yes to life. Saying yes doesn't mean that I like what's happening. It's saying yes just means I accept that this is happening. And now what? And that just changes absolutely everything. And as I said, we are the ones who are creating that experience. And it feels like a feedback loop with the universe. It feels like when I'm resisting and I'm creating then situations that universe or like life shows me, external circumstances show me that I am in resistance. So it gives me more situations to resist. And then if I'm surrendering, then things start flowing beautifully. And you may still have challenges, but if you just go through it, why will you really step up for yourself and hold space for yourself and really, really show up, then even the circumstances start changing. And it is that feedback loop. So it gets either better or worse. So if it gets out of control, then you're like down spiraling. But you can always stop at any moment and decide like, okay, no, what am I doing? Oh, it's because I'm resisting. I've been saying no to life. So when you're saying no to life, it's going to be painful. And these emotions, they're not here to punish you, and they're not here, like they're not random. It's not like bad emotions are here because you're a bad person. No, usually bad feelings in the body show that your thinking is off or that you're not in alignment with the universal truth, with the principles, or with your soul path. Something is off. And thank God that we have these emotions. They're like our internal compass, showing us whether we're thinking right. I'm not saying like right, but like correct in terms of it's in alignment with the universal laws, which is love and oneness. And that's why when we're connected, it feels so good. And when we feel separate, it's because we have disconnected. It's never because someone else disconnects from you. It's because you disconnected from life, from existence, because you're saying no to life. You're saying no to what is. But actually, when you lean in and say like, okay, this is really scary, or this wound feels like, oh, I don't want to go there. Like, what if I go there and never come back? And that's also been a fear of mine. Like, what if I surrender, and if I go into this darkness, whether it's on plant medicine or whether in therapy or in this deep shadow work and shamanic work, right? What if I go and visit that deepest, darkest wound? And what if I don't have the courage and the strength to hold myself through it? What if I lose myself? And that has been the fear. And there have been a few instances where when I'm really down in that like one-dimensional darkness, which I talked about in session 1, there have been times like, why the heck did I even start this? Why did I needed this? Like, why? What was I even thinking? Like, could I just have lived like, as a normal person, just not even dive into these deep waters, just be normal, go to work, don't question things, like why? And you just like, how did I get myself there? And I don't know if you've seen Frozen 2. Has anyone seen it? I highly recommend it. It's really, really deep. Actually, in 2019, when I was in Hawaii, me and my friend Viva, some of you may know her, we took her girls to watch Frozen 2. It was so deep. We're like both crying, looking at each other, like, what the F? Like, it's like so deep, so symbolic, and it's as deep as yourself, because some people think it's just a shallow movie for kids, or there's like really deep symbolism and the hero's journey. And I highly recommend it. If you've not watched it, please do. I feel like I want to watch it again. And it's like an ayahuasca journey. The whole movie is like, oh, I know this, like when it starts with the calling, then you refuse the calling. So it's like hero journey, ayahuasca journey. And there is that fear. And at some point she goes so deep, and it's that fear, like, what if I go so deep and I never come back? And when there was that moment, I was like, oh my God, that used to be like the beginning of all my plant medicine journeys. Like, I don't want to surrender. What if I go so deep that I never come back? Or in some therapy, like, what if I go into this wound so deep that I never recover? Or maybe there was like this one other rational fear. What if I go so deep that I somehow end up in some other dimension, who knows what, and there's nothing to come back to? Not because I've died, but like this reality just like a hologram switches off and there's nothing to come back to. Not a very rational thought, not very scientific, or maybe it is scientific. They kind of quantum physicists probably would say it is scientific, but I don't know. But that used to be a fear. And it no longer is in my reality, because I've been to that wound and to that darkest place so much, and I've learned that if I hold myself through it, I will always come back. I will not disappear. Like, reality will not disappear. I'm supposed to be here. If I'm not supposed to be here, I wouldn't be. And if I am supposed to be on this planet, in this reality, I will be. So that is that kind of next level surrender and faith and trust. And now I've learned that actually by going into this deep wound and really sitting in that pain and not abandoning myself, but really doing the work, because it's not enough just to visit the wound. Because if you visit the wound and then you abandon yourself, then you traumatize yourself. It's as if you have an open wound and you come and you just put some dirt on it. And then of course it's going to be even harder, and then get scarier and scarier. But actually, if you go there and you say, okay, there's dirt, let me just clean it. The cleaning sometimes is very painful and uncomfortable. But you put clean with water, then you put the alcohol, and it's like, ouch, but you're doing good for yourself. And then it starts healing, and maybe you revisit it again, and it's like, it's better, it's easier. You're just here to change the band-aid. It's no longer as deep. And exactly the same thing happens. And I've visited those core wounds so many times now, and It does get better. Now it's no longer, I feel like that part of me that was drawn to life situations that would mirror that is gone. These situations, like, they're no longer interesting. All these fears to show up in life or to open my heart, they're gone. Not because I was like, I'm trying to open my heart, like force it. You can't do that. But when you clean the wounds, the guards melt away and you naturally just open, because openness and good heart is our natural state. We don't need to try. We don't need to work for it. We just need to remove those blocks that are holding us back from it. And I've learned in my experience that actually it is safe. And I'm sharing this with you because you may at some point, or maybe you already have, been in that place where you question, like, is it even worth it? Why am I even doing it? And for some people, it's not as intense. It's just like, oh, it's a little bit of pain. So it depends on not just what you went through, but also how sensitive you are. And I am extremely sensitive. I'm so sensitive to all the things, all the frequencies, to things, to people. I just feel so deeply everything. So for me, maybe it's like exaggerated. And for a good reason, because that's why it's such a strong calling for me, because I can't ignore it. I'm so sensitive, like numbing doesn't even work. It used to many, many years ago. Now, even if I try to numb and not look at it, it doesn't work. So I don't really have a choice. But I believe that this is my soul path, to go and really dedicate my whole existence into healing, understanding it, and then helping others heal and understanding these laws of existence of the universe. And so when we understand them, we can work with the laws, not against them. It doesn't mean that life just becomes this like illusion and fairy tale. That's not the goal. The goal is to understand how life works so we can move with it rather than against it, and surrender to those lessons. And we don't have to just learn through pain. We can also learn through pleasure and expansion. And also in the last couple of years, I've had a lot of lessons through that as well, through beautiful friendships and through some intimate experiences where you do open your heart and you do feel the pleasure, and that these kind of this wisdom and downloads come through that energy as well. So it doesn't have to be just like all darkness and all bad. And I believe that even that wound healing can be still a pleasurable experience. And this is true alchemy. And I teach that in all my programs, including the homecoming program, that actually you can create something beautiful out of it. And we as women, we have this gift to create beauty around us. So if you have a wound, you put on the music and you start dancing, or you're breathing, or you put incense or a candle, you make it beautiful. Maybe you write a poem, or maybe you create this dramatic, performance just for yourself, no one else. And sometimes that is so healing when you are so, let's say, angry, and you just, I'm so angry, I can't believe that person did it. So imagine like you're on some sort of a diva on a theater stage and you do it, and then like a few minutes later I burst out laughing, and just, it's so healing. So we need to express it. The whole point is just to find a way to express it, whether alchemize it through beauty or through movement or anything. And when we create something out of it, that's how we heal. And we hold space for ourselves, even in this darkest abyss where there's no benevolent forces. It's all just darkness. It's all just bad. It's hell. But I've got myself. And as long as I've got myself, I will create beauty. I will create beauty with myself. I'll start creating some sort of poem or words, or start humming a song, or just something beautiful is born. And that's how we alchemize it. And this is our power. And if we don't do it, if we say no to life, if we resist it, if we don't heal our wounds, they don't go away. We pass it on to others, whether our children or the people around us. People start projecting or hurting others. As the saying goes, hurt people, but not always. Sometimes hurt people change the world, their own world and the world around us. So it's about owning it. And what are you going to do with this wound? And surrender does not mean being passive. Surrender is not being passive. It's not giving up. It's not like, well, I'm just going to surrender and like lie on a couch and just not do anything. No, surrender means not giving up. It means not kind of just letting go completely, but it means stopping to figure, like trying to figure everything out in your head and manipulate the reality and force things into existence, but instead just allow it all in. So it's not so much of letting go, because people always say like, just let go, just let go. But actually, like, letting go can be a bit funny, because if you try to let go, it implies resistance. It implies like, I don't want it to be here, so let go. So it never has really worked for me, this concept of letting go. But what does work, and you are, invited to try it on for yourself, is actually allowing. It's like saying yes to life, just allowing all the emotions, allowing the wounds, allowing the thoughts, not trying to pick one, which one is true, and like arguing inside yourself, allowing for these parts to argue, but instead just allowing it all to be and surrendering to the emotion. And when you surrender to the emotion in your body, instead of just your mind trying to create a narrative about it, it's actually even the hardest emotions or the most painful ones become neutral. And then they can actually even be alchemized to pleasure through certain practices. And if you join, I know a lot of you have already joined the homecoming program, when we talk about wild woman archetype and lover archetype, we're going to work through that, but through these emotions and how to actually alchemize them, not just neutralize them, but actually turn them into pleasure and use that energy as fuel for your life force energy. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful process. So we have that power, but it's only when we say yes to life, when we just really surrender to what is and surrender to inspiration. So it's not also about passively waiting until life happens, but it's like, I feel called to message that person, or to and like yesterday, for example, I saw something on my friend Gina's stories about about her podcast, and I remember like, oh, we've been trying to schedule a podcast, and I just immediately messaged her, we should do a podcast. She's like, should we do it in 2 hours? Like, yes, let's do it. And like immediately scheduled. I had such a deep conversation. It's coming out in a couple of weeks, and just sometimes like that happens, and that message gets spread to more people, and like more people will probably get whatever piece of wisdom they will need that day when they listen to it. Or even this summer, I was thinking already, I was like preparing to create this online program, which I have the concepts for years. I've been teaching them to my private clients in my group. So the content was already there and it's tested and I know it works, but wasn't even sure like how to call it, how to name it. And I had a few working titles. I was discussing it with my business mentor, but it's like something I was still trying to like think it in my head. And I decided just to leave it. Just like, it's gonna come. I'm trusting it. And one day I remember it was like such a hot day in July. I think I was on a tube going home, but had such a warm experience. Like really, I was going through a really beautiful time this summer, and I was just like, I feel so home already within myself. And it just dropped that like, yeah, your course is called Homecoming. It was like a channel thing. I was like, of course it is. So that didn't come from my mind. It just like, it landed when I completely surrendered my mind. And then the other thing was like, it's a rebirth, like, because this whole initiation to all the 8 archetypes is like a complete rebirth. I was like, oh yeah, of course it is. So sometimes like beauty and experiences and opportunities just come when we start listening. And I found that the more deep work I do and peel off these layers, and the more like that I build that trust with myself by checking in every single day, the easier it is to hear that, and then knowing where it's coming from. And sometimes some inspiration may still come from a wounded place. That doesn't mean it's bad. That doesn't mean like you should ignore it and not go for it. Let's say in a dating situation, right? Like, okay, like I feel the pull towards that person. I can tell it's coming from a wounded place. It's okay, as long as I can hold myself, and I trust that I can hold myself through the process, not abandon myself, not to take that infant and throw it out the window, but just really go through it. by actually embodying my deepest philosophy, I'll be fine. And yeah, there is probably a part of me like, yeah, but there is a slim chance that you may lose yourself somewhere along the way. And I'm not arguing with that part either. Like, oh, thank you for showing up. I see you're trying to protect me. I'll be extra aware. And even if that happens, well, I'll apologize. I'll come back and I'll pick it up. And, like it's just trusting yourself and just going through it. But it's about really tuning in and listening to yourself. Maybe you feel called to find a new job. Maybe you feel called to change your lifestyle, maybe improve your nutrition, but you keep ignoring it because you think you may lose something, as you need to pay the price of fun. Actually, you don't. You can have fun and hot body at the same time. But anything that, calls you, maybe just close your eyes for a moment and drop in and check, like, what inspiration is there? Is there something that's calling you? And then there are any instructions if you need to do anything. Just be aware and maybe make a commitment to yourself to say yes to it. And notice if there is any resistance. Know that you have all the power to resist as much as you want. There's no right or wrong. But that thought may not actually leave you until you implement it. Or maybe it will, maybe something else will come up. And then if you're willing, you can even ask deeper, where is this part coming from? Where is the suggestion coming from? Is it a wounded place? Is it an enlightened place? Is it your deep intuition? Is it your instincts? Is it the divine inspiration? Is it your soul giving you a nudge? So just check in. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. And it's up to you if you want to do it. As I said, we always have two choices, either surrender to life or to resist it. And there are no steps to surrender. You can't try. Surrender, as I said, means not so much as like letting go, but more like allowing, saying yes to whatever is happening and being super present, not getting lost in some sort of mind narratives of the past, of the future, what could be, because that's where we become not present and we lose the life that's happening in front of us. And where are we going? If you're missing out on what's happening right now because you're resisting this moment, because when you resist, when you say no, you're not fully there. Like your whole consciousness is not there. You're just partly there. But part of your soul is like, who's somewhere else? And then you're not fully living your life. And then what are you doing? And most people are so stuck in their heads and like thinking always about the future, ruminating about the past, and like never fully there. And I can see some people, like I'm sure probably not people who are on this, in this masterclass, but probably people who are just like this, have this look, they're just kind of haze, like they're not even there fully. Like going somewhere, but then you miss out on the whole life. Like, where are you going? Like the final destination is guaranteed for all of us. We're all definitely gonna be there. That's like nothing to worry about. We will get there. The question is, how does your journey look like? And the only unrenewable resource is time. We can always earn more money. We can always create more experiences, get more food, get this or that. But like time is one thing that you can't get back. And if you're not fully present, you're literally taking the most precious currency of your life and just like poof, throwing out the window. Because people are like saving money and, like thinking about money and like spending, like thinking how to spend, but like time, like, oh, just whatever, like wasting it. And you can do that. You're also free to do that. But then it's an invitation to take a step back and like ask, like, what are we actually doing here? And it's an invitation to surrender to life, no matter what it is. Because actually, even if it's not pleasant, even if you really don't like it, when you say yes and you lean in, you still make the beauty out of it. And when you're fully present, there's so much more richness and magic happens in it. And if you have that courage to go into these wounds and into your shadows and transmute them and turn them into light, that's where it becomes stronger and stronger. And you will start learning more and more from pleasure rather than from pain. Because my past experience, like especially, well, I've went through some dark experiences this year as well, but actually there's also been a lot of beauty, a lot of beautiful experiences where it still expands the consciousness. So it's also important not to get lost in that narrative that in order to expand, in order to grow, we really need to go through hardships. I'm not looking for more hardships. Like if it happens, it happens. I'll say yes to it and I'll process it, but I'm not trying to create more of it. But it's not up to me. Again, like I'm just surrendering to life. And in this recent shamanic training, we did this where we went, it wasn't really called surrender, but it's about like letting go of all the possible futures that we may have. And I realized how I was like holding on to these visions still. And I had to completely burn and surrender my desire to be a mother, my desire to have family, which was like a really vulnerable thing to do. But then like holding on to it wasn't really working. Same in that plant medicine journey years ago when I was like, oh, trying to hold on to vision or surrender. So now I'm just like, I've let go. It doesn't mean I don't want it. There is a part of me that wants it. And I'm sure that the universe received my order. And if it's meant for me to experience in this lifetime, I will. And if it's not, I won't. And now I'm genuinely at so much peace to it with it. So we're going to do some beautiful activation right now and see whatever is ready to be surrendered in your life. So if you just want to get really, really comfortable, and just drop into this moment, into here and now, knowing that for the next 5 minutes or so, there's nothing else you need to do, nowhere else to go. You can just fully allow yourself to drop into this moment. And your mind and your body knows how to make yourself even more relaxed and dropped in. And just allow your whole body to soften and relax. If there's any tension anywhere in the body, let it just simply melt away. That's right. Relax your shoulders, relax your neck, your jaw, relax your forehead. And just allow yourself to drop even deeper and deeper and deeper. That's right. And now draw your attention to the center of your heart. And just tune in into your heart and say hello. And see if your heart responds. And now imagine that there is a ball of bright golden light in the center of your heart. And that ball of light has this beautiful loving kindness energy, softness and love. And maybe if it helps, you can imagine the sun shining on all beings. Maybe a baby smiling, or puppies or kittens playing. Maybe your favorite person in front of you. Whatever helps you connect with that feeling of warmth and loving kindness. And with the next inhale, allow this ball of light and this feeling of warmth expand. And with the next exhale, spread it out throughout your whole body. And once again, inhale and allow this ball of light expand. And with the next exhale, send it to every single cell of your body. That's right. And one more time, inhale, allow this loving kindness ball expand. And with the next exhale, send it to every single cell of your body, filling your cells with so much light and high frequency energy. And now just scan your body. Just tune in. What is happening in the body? Whether you can sense any energy. And notice if it's pleasant or unpleasant. And just allow yourself to absorb that feeling. And now, surrounded by this beautiful loving kindness energy, we're going to visit something that is not as pleasant, perhaps, or maybe it is. And knowing that you're absolutely safe. And anything that comes up is just for healing, integration, and clearing. So think about something that's been bothering you recently. Maybe it's some decision that you have to make. Maybe it's some situation in some relationship, romantic or family or, career, business or friendships. Or maybe it's something, some pattern that you keep getting stuck into. Or maybe it's a sense that you need to make a decision, but you don't know what. So whatever is most recent for you or the most alive, just allow that to rise to the surface. And if that issue, that question, or that struggle was somewhere in your body, where would it be? Just notice. If the answer is clear, then focus there. If you don't know yet, just remain curious. You can even make it up. And just send some more deep breaths into that area, allowing it to relax a little bit. And just acknowledge how much mental space and emotional space it's been taking up. This issue, this question. Now, with the power of your mind, you're going to go ahead and get it out of your body. So you can even use your hands if it feels good to kind of energetically pull it out of yourself, whether it's in your belly or in your heart. Put it out and allow it to just hover in front of you. So go ahead and do that if you haven't already. Just take that issue and just put it in front. And just look at it. What's the energy around it? Can you feel the color? See the color and the texture, maybe the temperature. And if that doesn't make sense to your mind at all, then that's fine as well. Just play with that idea. If it had color, what would it be? If it had texture, what would it be? And trust whatever your mind conjures up. And now know that you don't have to carry it anymore. You don't actually have to solve it at all. It's not up to your little human self to figure out. So what we're going to do now, you're going to take that energy in front of you into your hands and just hand it to your higher self or higher power, God, source, universe, whatever you want to believe in. And just give it away. You don't need to solve it. From this moment forward, it's none of your business. It's not your problem anymore. Doesn't mean that you won't need to take action in your life, but you don't need to figure anything out. So now, some higher power, maybe your higher self, your future self, something mysterious has taken it away from you, and it's no longer yours. And that place where that energy was or where that struggle was, now go ahead and fill that place with your own loving kindness. You can use your hands if it feels good. With our hands, with our intention, we can move the energy. Or you can just use your mind. Wherever your attention goes, energy flows. Just fill that space with more love. And now ask for guidance. Guide me, show me, align me. Whenever I'm not aligned, please tell me and show me how to come back into alignment. Help me catch myself sooner, come back to myself, reconnect with myself. Guide me through inspiration, through body sensations, through pleasure. Whenever I feel called, whenever I feel this excitement, I'll know that it's right for me. Your body knows, your body always knows. It always feels either relief, even if it's a hard decision, it feels like a relief deep down, or it feels like a burden. So just set that intention, give a command to your mind, to your body, to get more in tune with that inner guidance. Guide me, guide me, guide me. Show me, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? Who do I need to speak to? Guide me and show me. And align me at any given moment. Whenever I lose my way, may I catch myself quicker than ever before and come back and come back and come back to my wholeness, to my alignment. I don't need to figure anything out in my head. I just need to come back to my body, take a few deep breaths, check in, what is my truth? What do I need right now? What do I need in this moment? And then act on it. Trust your body. Knowing that it's always safe, your body will never steer you wrong. You just need to really hold yourself. And the universe, God, Source, Mother Nature wants to move through you. It's not separate from you. It's not that there is some sort of God and then you. Well, there's universe and you are part of the universe. But the universe is larger, it's bigger, it's more complex. You cannot understand everything. By you trying to figure out the whole existence, it's like trying to get a dog to do math equation. The dog may lick the paper and think it's great, but it's not going to understand the math equation. So it's saying like you need to surrender and let go of the fact that you can figure everything and micromanage your existence. There's such a deeper, bigger, more powerful forces playing. And that force is you. It's not that there's force outside of you, it's you, but the more higher, evolved, wise aspect of yourself that you can't even comprehend. So you just need to trust. And when you surrender to love, when you hold that loving space for yourself, the universe, the world, life, anything around you will mirror that. So this is your power. You're always responsible for your frequency. And it's not about just being in some joy frequency and fakely manufacturing this joy and magic. It's not about that. It's about saying yes to what is at any given moment. And when you say yes to what is, it always changes. But when we resist, we actually prolong our pain, prolong our wounds. But when we say yes, we move through it. And life moves through you. And it's such a beautiful experience. So from this moment forward, you don't need to figure anything out. Whenever you are in some inner conflict in your head, just hand it back to the universe, hand it back to God, to source. Like, I don't know what to do with this. Take it and now guide me. May my body know at any given moment what I need to do. And when in doubt, when you don't know, come back to love, hold space for yourself, be in that loving space, and that will never ever stay wrong. I can promise you. I don't know a lot of things in life, but one thing I know for sure, that when you love yourself, when you hold space for yourself, when you don't disconnect from yourself, you don't disconnect from life. And when you're connected to life, life is on your side because life is you. When you're on your side, life is on your side. And you always have that choice. And I think this is a really good choice at any given moment. Just drop it into your body once more, even deeper. And just check in what's happening, what's going on. And take a breath a little deeper than before. Exhale. Now, when you take the next breath, take it as if it really, really counts. And feel the magic of this existence and the gratitude and joy. What a journey. What a gift to be alive. And just feel into how much power you actually hold and sometimes hide from yourself. And how much you sometimes maybe love to pretend that you're not powerful. Whereas actually, you have the power at any given moment to say yes and to connect with yourself and connect with life and trust. Everything always works out. Not necessarily as your initial plan, but sometimes for a good reason. So put a hand on your heart and another hand on top, just anchoring this moment and making once more a commitment to yourself, to surrender to life even more, to hold space for yourself through whatever you're going through. You've got it. And whenever you're ready, you can blink your eyes open. And hopefully you're a little bit more surrendered than before. And let me know in the chat box how you're feeling after our meditation. You get to practice it for the rest of your life. And that is the official end of our Alchemy of Self session. And I'll just let you know a few more things. One is that actually the discount for the program is extended for another 24 hours. Initially, because my web developer couldn't change the price on time. And then I checked in and thought, okay, let's keep it. Let's leave it. So if you still want to join, it's still $333 until 6 p.m. tomorrow. So you're very, very welcome to join. I know a lot of you already have, so congratulations. We're going to start this journey. So the homecoming is that it's all about coming back home to yourself and doing this deep inner work and peeling off the layers of yourself. And the more you do it, the easier it is to tune into these different parts. And it's based on the feminine archetypes. So it's very juicy. It's not just these concepts, philosophical concepts, but it's very experiential. So I actually go through different processes. I guide you through these processes where you find these deep parts within yourself, and obviously in a very loving space. And this is actually, all these concepts are what changed my life. And this is what I've been teaching. And I've actually, throughout the last 10 years, have done so many different courses, worked with multiple different world-class, mentors and coaches and healers and therapists, and tried all the different things. And this is actually in my human design. If anyone knows about human design, like I have signed up to like try everything, and through trial and error kind of distill and really extract the things that work. So this is my kind of life's mission. And if you don't want to spend your whole existence, just doing all this thing, this is like an extracted version of it. So 8 weeks. And even if you do want to, I always also believe in learning from mentors. So when I learn from a mentor, and if I do some sort of program, I extract their 20 years of wisdom and I learn something and I kind of build on top of that. And we're all here supposed to learn from each other. So it's a very juicy and beautiful program. So if you feel called, you're very, very welcome. I'm going to read some comments. Feel lighter, was deep and relieving. Beautiful, feel lighter. Thank you, feel much lighter. Meditation was amazing as always. Thank you very much. That's really great. Lovely to hear. My cat came onto my lap to hold space for me again. I really need to cut those monster claws of hers. Ouch. A lot of yawning for me. Yawning is really good. It's purging. It's actually energy leaving your body. I felt a bit sad as I was surrendering that wounded part of me, like I was surrendering a part of myself, but also calm and light. I had my higher self with me, so I felt okay. Such an interesting one. Thank you. You're welcome. And yeah, sometimes when we release even like part of ourselves or the wound, that may feel sad. And when I was like releasing some wounds that were attracting me to men who were not good for me, I knew that I'm releasing that man as well back in the day when I was doing this work. So there's like, even though that's not what I want, but there's a part of me that loves the drama and loves the kind of that, the highs. But then I have to say, yeah, okay, and you allow that part is also allowed, but is that what I ultimately want? No. And then we get to grieve that part, the dramatic part, the wounded part as well, because also we get a lot of sometimes attention through wounds, and sometimes we bond with other people through wound. So we have to acknowledge that, and that we are letting go of that. And at the same time, I always want something higher. The higher doesn't mean like better, or it's not about comparison, but it's more open-hearted, more connected to the truth of existence, of what actually is. So I don't want to operate from a wounded place. I want to operate from this open, enlightened, maybe it's not the right word, but that open space where it's like soul aligned versus wound aligned. This activation was pure magic. So happy to hear that. Thank you. So I would love to have you in the homecoming program. If you feel called, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And yeah, as I said, the program is 888 pounds, but right now until tomorrow it's 333. So it's a no-brainer. If you feel called to this work and if you really want to learn from me, then it's like all my wisdom in 8 weeks. Obviously not all wisdom, but like the most effective concepts that literally changed my own life. And it can change your life as well if you feel called. And also, as I mentioned before, on Monday, we have a Q&A session. So I've got just a few questions that people have sent through via email. So feel free to send any questions, even if it's your any like live situation. If you want my comment on it, this is an opportunity to have that. I will not use your name or your details, so people will not know how, they will not recognize you, but I'll just take the essence and I'll share it. And please do submit those questions because they're so helpful for everyone else. It's not just for you. And you'll be surprised how actually similar we are. We think that we are uniquely flawed, but actually we're so similar and we go through different things. We just want love, connection, and safety, and we're afraid of abandonment and rejection, not fitting in. But actually, yeah, when you share your heart and your story and the question, that really helps everyone else. So until Monday, please email me your questions, and I will also share the link to the homecoming program. Yeah, and tomorrow at 6 p.m. the price is going to go up to 444, and then on Monday to 555, and will remain 555 until the start of the program. All right, so amazing, mind-blowing 3 days. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it has made me deepen my connection with myself even more and peel off even more layers. And I can't wait to see what happens after like 5 years or even a year of doing this work. And it gets deeper and deeper every year. So I just really can't wait to see what happens. And yeah, thank you so much for showing up for all the 3 days. Thank you so much if you're watching the replay. And just a final reminder, just say yes to life, to whatever is happening. And don't forget to hold yourself through it all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you all. And I hope to see you sometime soon on Monday or in homecoming. Okay. Bye.